A warm welcome from Oslo and Umeå to this Barents high-level meeting. We are here to discuss the further developing of the Barents cooperation. We have quite an ambitious agenda and a great list of speakers, so I think we'll just start working. It's a pleasure for me to first introduce Foreign Minister of Norway and Chair of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council, Ine Eriksen Søreide. Please, Minister.
Governors, state secretaries and friends of the Barents region, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you to this joint national and regional Barents meeting, the first of its kind. I'm very glad to see all of you here, even though it is on the screen. These are challenging times for the Barents family, and the pandemic has halted parts of our activities, changed our plans, and forced our cooperation onto a digital platform. With all this in mind, it is a good time to invite Barents partners for important discussions on how to continue to strengthen our cooperation. Norway is now halfway into our chairmanship. We felt we were well prepared. We had many plans. However, we didn't anticipate having to conduct our activities online. This does not feel natural in a cooperation founded on people-to-people contact. But at the same time, we are reaping the benefits of more than 25 years of friendships and ties. We are impressed to see how the working groups, the regions, indigenous peoples, young people, and our project partners are adjusting in very creative ways. I feel proud to be part of this Barents spirit. We must look ahead and plan for new initiatives, and I would like to thank all our partners for constructive involvement in establishing a financial mechanism under the Barents Euro-Arctic Council. We are determined to succeed in this effort. We believe it will add more substance to our cooperation. The pandemic demonstrates the importance of strong infrastructures for international health collaboration. And Norway was very proud to host the first Barents Health Ministers meeting in Oslo last November. This December, we will follow up with a digital meeting on e-health together with Västerbotten. Knowledge is a key word for our chairmanship. Listening to people is one of the best ways to gain new insights. Personally, I have recently had inspiring conversations with young people from the north to discuss the government's upcoming white paper on the Arctic. This has made it even clearer how important it is to include young people in our conversations. We must listen and learn. The Barents Regional Youth Council is an important contributor on today's program. During our chairmanship term, we plan to strengthen temporarily the capacity of the International Barents Secretariat on youth and indigenous peoples. We all agree that a strong Barents region must be based on sustainability. The ongoing task of revising the Barents Action Plan for Climate is important. And Norway sees smart business development as part of the solution for sustainability. The people of the Barents region deserve to live, work, and raise their children in modern, resilient societies. We believe the best answers are found when scientists, politicians, and businesses talk and work together. Norway is therefore planning a digital conference to discuss solutions for a climate-smart Barents region in the spring. Going back to knowledge, the Sami, Vesps, Nenet, and Komi peoples stated it all and are at the heart and soul of our cooperation. Their voice must be heard. It is our ambition to host an Indigenous Peoples Summit in Norway during our chairmanship. Before I conclude, let me emphasize the importance of our regions as the engine of our cooperation. I'm honored to co-host our meeting with Regional Council Chair Helene Hellmark Knutsson. The cooperation with Västerbotten gives added value to our chairmanship. Dear friends, COVID-19 has changed the character of our days. However, it hasn't changed our vision. Our interaction today helps us remind each other of what this is all about: contact and dialogue across our borders. It is our common duty to continue our efforts, and I look forward to hearing your views.
Thank you, Foreign Minister. In true Barents spirit, this is a joint national and regional meeting. I'm very pleased to introduce our co-host, Governor of Västerbotten and Chair of the Barents Regional Council, Helene Hellmark Knutsson. Please, Governor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Minister and State Secretaries, Governors and friends of the Barents region. First, I would like to thank Minister Eriksen Søreide, and I cannot agree with you more than the cooperation between Västerbotten and the Norwegian chair brings added value to the both of our chairmanships. And it's a great pleasure for me to be here today at my first Barents meetings as the governor of Västerbotten. Interaction in our region and between our countries have been ongoing for centuries. It is often said that the dynamics between the regional and the national levels are what makes the Barents cooperation unique. When stakeholders from national, regional and local levels together with indigenous people and the youth are sitting at the same table, it creates an unique environment and spirit. Västerbotten has been a member of the Barents Cooperation almost from the start, some 28 years ago, and now we are chairing with the Barents Regional Council. The Norwegian and Västerbotten chairmanships did not turn out the way we planned, but as the meeting of today shows, we can adapt to the situation that we are facing and find other ways to meet and cooperate. We are developing new forms of interaction. We do not always need to travel long distances to meet anymore. And my feeling is that we can meet more often when we meet like this, and we get higher participation from all stakeholders. Much of this has to do with the stable foundation that the Barents Cooperation rests upon, a foundation that has emerged throughout the years and that we now can continue to build upon despite the current situation where we cannot meet face to face. The strength of the Barents Cooperation lies in the people of the region, their knowledge, their experience, culture expressions, diversity, and heritage. The future of the Barents region relies in continued efforts and investment in youth, culture, health, and social issues, education, and research. I'm looking forward of today's discussion on how we can develop this and strengthen the Barents Cooperation during and after the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. This meeting is like a virtual tour between capitals and region, and now we will travel to Helsinki. I'm very pleased to introduce Permanent State Secretary of Finland, Matti Anttonen. Please, State Secretary, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Minister Eriksen Søreide, governors, dear colleagues and friends of the Barents region. Finland is pleased to participate in this discussion on stocktaking of the Barents Cooperation. As said by the chair of this meeting, in the past months we have been fighting the COVID-19 pandemic and dealing with its consequences on public health and economy. It has not, however, prevented us to continue our cooperation in the Barents region. The cooperation has found new digital forms via Skype, Teams, or Zoom. When we learn to utilize their full potential, digital tools help us to pass the distances. Digitalization is an opportunity for us in the remote northern regions. It is important that we continue to work together to strengthen and further revitalize the Barents Cooperation. Barents Euro-Arctic Council is a unique platform for the cooperation between the regions and between the capitals and the regions. Our common aim is to keep the Barents and the Arctic as an area of cooperation. The best results we have seen in the field of environmental cooperation, in pollution prevention, climate change mitigation and adaptation, and in strengthening cooperation in biodiversity conservation and restoration. for instance in addressing the spread of invasive species. Also, the results of the people-to-people contacts are admirable. The Barents cooperation has given a unique opportunity for children and youth, as well as indigenous people, local communities, administrations and researchers to come together, meet and understand each other's ideas and thoughts, and create genuine friendships. Finland fully supports the Norwegian chairmanship priorities on health, people-to-people contact and knowledge. Finland will continue to emphasize these priorities during its chairmanship in 2021-2023. We are therefore planning to strengthen the Barents Euro-Arctic Council Secretariat already during the Norwegian chairmanship by seconding a youth and education expert to the Secretariat. We welcome the Norwegian efforts to reach a decision on the creation of a financing mechanism for small-scale grassroots projects. We fully support this initiative and are ready to participate to finance it. The Russian chairmanship of the Arctic Council coincides with the Finnish chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council. This gives us excellent opportunities for further cooperation in the Barents framework, too, particularly in the field of environmental protection and climate change. We will also work with our EU partners to secure the uninterrupted continuation and adequate funding of the EU-Russia CBC programs and the Northern Dimension policies that both are of major importance for the Barents region. Thank you very much.
Secretary Anttonen, and thank you for your support. Our next destination is Moscow. I'm very pleased to introduce Regional Director for Northern Europe of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Sergey Belyaev. Добро пожаловать. Please, the floor is yours, Director.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, Honorable State Secretaries and Governors, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the co-chairs of the meeting for the organization of this session, and my special thanks for the possibility to speak immediately after Matti Anttonen, my good friend, whom I know for 33 years. Today's meeting is a special one. It takes place against the background of a complex epidemiological situation in a difficult period for diplomacy, which has been shifted to a contactless mode. The current situation is particularly sensitive for the Barents region. Indeed, the level of cross-border connections and people-to-people contacts here is very high, and probably there is no other format like that in the modern Europe. The unique two-level structure of the Barents cooperation allows to define promising projects and combine the priorities of the states with the interests and needs of the regions in the best possible way. Due to such close coordination, we are able to respond flexibly and promptly to emerging challenges, including COVID-19. Today, we see how important is cooperation in the field of healthcare. Even before the pandemic, Norway has chosen the topic as one of the priorities of its chairmanship. In this regard, we welcome the first meeting of the Barents Council Health Ministers, which was held in Oslo last November, and became the first meeting of this kind in the history of the region. The joint working group on health and related social issues is very active. We believe that Murmansk initiative to enhance best practices, exchange best practices in combating COVID-19 and discuss possible joint measures to fighting the pandemic is important and timely. Two video sessions, Barents region versus coronavirus, chaired by Governor of the Murmansk region, Andrey Chibis, have already taken place in June and October. Despite all the restrictions caused by COVID-19, cooperation moves in all key areas of the Council's activities. Most of the Barents region working groups held their meetings online. Other regular events also take place. In particular, the annual international session Cooperation in the Arctic in Murmansk is becoming a good tradition. This year it will be held for the third time already in the form of video link that will bridge Murmansk and Kirkenes. We look forward to welcoming our partners from Northern Europe, as well as European Union's representatives, to this event scheduled for November 17th. We support the intention of Norwegian chairmanship and the working group of indigenous peoples to hold the third Barents Indigenous Peoples Summit in spring 2021. It is obvious now, against the background of closed borders and general economic decline, the issue of intensification of trade, economic and investment ties between our countries is becoming more relevant. In this regard, it is necessary to give additional impetus to the Barents Council Working Group on Economic Cooperation, which, frankly speaking, has been stagnating in the recent years. An important item on the agenda is strengthening the financial basis of cooperation. Today, the situation is paradoxical. Barents Council, being perhaps the most successful format for interstate cooperation in the north of Europe, remains the only regional organization that doesn't have its own financial instrument. We hope that the task force on the Barents Regional Financial Mechanism, which was launched this summer, will successfully accomplish its mission by the end of the Norwegian chairmanship. Under the constraints imposed by pandemic, it is important not to reduce efforts on the youth track of cooperation. For our part, we confirm our readiness to hold the next Barents Regional Youth Council annual event in Arkhangelsk, where the situation allows it. I would also like to use this opportunity to inform you that one of Russian regions will take the chairmanship in the Barents Regional Council after Västerbotten for the period 2021-2023. Now we are finalizing the formalities and soon we'll be ready to announce the next Barents Regional Council chair. Thank you very much.
Spasiba van Balshoya. Thank you, Director. We will now go to Stockholm. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Deputy Foreign Minister of Sweden, Robert Rydberg. Please, Minister, over to you. Please unmute your microphone, Rydberg. We cannot hear you. Can you unmute your microphone? We cannot hear you. Please, can you try again?
Does it work now?
Yes, please.
Okay, my apologies. Dear colleagues and friends, warm thanks to Norway and Västerbotten for organizing this important meeting. The Barents Cooperation is indeed a good example of the added value of regional cooperation. It has a proven track record of important practical achievements in key areas of cooperation to the benefit of the region and its people. The current challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how vulnerable and interlinked our societies are, making cross-border cooperation even more necessary. Cross-border travel restrictions continue to hamper our cooperation, unfortunately. We need to find sustainable ways to continue our collaboration even in these difficult times. We also need to increase the protection of human rights, core values, and gender equality when tackling the health and economic consequences of the pandemic. Long-term people-to-people contacts play an important role in the cooperation and in preserving our region as a region of peace, stability, and cooperation. It's a sign of strength that our collaboration can continue, even in times of complicated international relations. Another strong point of the Barents cooperation is that it is conducted in a concrete and practical manner. This is mainly done at working group level in close interaction with stakeholders at national, regional, and local levels, and with the indigenous peoples as important partners in our collaboration. The Barents Rescue Concept and the revised Barents Transport Plan are concrete examples of the added value of the collaboration. The ongoing update of the Barents Action Plan on Climate Change is another concrete example of our engagement, but we need to do more. The future of the region relies on continued investment in young people, education and research, culture, civil protection, health, and social issues. Reliable trans-border infrastructure is also necessary to make the Barents region attractive to live and work in. I would like to highlight two areas in which I believe increased efforts would bring added value to the region. The first area concerns the environment and climate. We need more creativity and skills to transform new knowledge into effective measures with real impact on the environment and climate. The ongoing update of the Barents Action Plan on Climate Change is a step in the right direction. But we need to do more also to reach the sustainability goals. Partnerships with the Arctic Council, the academy, and the business sector should be encouraged to speed up the green transformation and digitalization of our societies. The second area focuses on civil protection. The environmental consequences of melting glaciers and permafrost shape a new geography and change the game plan, necessitating increased capacity to meet new challenges. The successful Barents Rescue Concept forms a good basis for increased cooperation in this area. The concept could also be used to develop regional action plans to tackle severe societal challenges. And to conclude, the Barents cooperation has served us well. I am convinced that the lessons learned from the pandemic will help us to further strengthen and revitalize our cooperation and seek synergies with other regional organizations in the North, with a view to building back better, greener, and safer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Foreign Minister Rydberg. Our next speaker is representing the European Union, so we will now visit Brussels. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Deputy Secretary General of the European External Action Service, Stefano Sannino. Please, over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. And allow me to begin by saying that we appreciate very much the close cooperation that we have with Norway on the COVID-19. Norway remains one of our closest partners. Madam Governor, we appreciate the initiative of hosting this very timely meeting on the impact of the pandemic on the Barents cooperation. As you are aware, the European Union is mobilizing all means at its disposal to support internal and external efforts in tackling the current coronavirus pandemic. The protection of our citizens is our first priority. The EU is fully involved in the multilateral response to the coronavirus crisis and continues to stand alongside the United Nations, the World Bank, the IMF, the WHO, to step up a forceful and coordinated global response to the pandemic. The regional level is crucial. The regions are at the forefront of our response, and it is there that we can have the most practical cooperation across borders. In the European Arctic, the Barents cooperation helps to connect us. The joint working groups reach across borders on forestry, on health, on economics. Indigenous people and youth are deeply involved in this work. The EU and our neighbours have jointly funded interregional and cross-border cooperation projects and Northern Dimension partnerships. All these initiatives help preserving deep links of cultural heritage, address environmental challenges, reinvigorate shared natural habits, and modernize border crossing points. But this work is not finished. It's in fact just beginning. The Arctic is changing and European Arctic with it. Our institutions and policies need to adapt as well. Dear colleagues, as our host underlined in their invitation, we have all been affected adversely by COVID-19. COVID-19 has been an accelerator of existing global trends and dynamics. The pressure of natural ecosystems and biodiversity, climate change, all trends that increase the risk of mutation and transmission of viruses. Competition of global models and the crisis of multilateralisms are generating a geopolitical polarization. Rising social inequalities and the very many crises around the world are generating instability and migratory pressures. Human rights are under attack more than ever. We need to face this new reality, knowing that the answer can only be of global nature. The reply cannot be national. We need the multilateral framework to face global challenges like the one created by COVID-19. The Barents region can and must now rise to the challenge of demonstrating that multilateralism, cooperation, sustainability, and trust are the building blocks to move forward. Dear colleagues, the EU regional response to the pandemic is one of solidarity and cooperation. Norway and Iceland have been deeply involved in our countermeasures in response to the pandemic. We cooperate with Russia through many of the regional structures. We also need to involve the younger generation in our work. Initiatives like the Baltic Meet Arctic, Young People in the Heart of Sustainable Future, are important steps in this direction. The Barents region is already something to be proud of. It is a thriving, interconnected, technological advanced part of the Arctic. We can make it even more so. We can create solutions that would help implementing our vision of a prosperous and just future for all. To conclude, the people of the North are expert at willpower. You know that it takes to keep things running through the changing seasons. While we face this crisis, we cannot afford diverting our eyes from the future that we want to build together. A better, fairer, greener, and more sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General Sannino, and thank you for underlining the importance of multilateral cooperation. We will now travel on to Copenhagen. It's a pleasure for me to introduce State Secretary of Denmark, Carsten Grønbech-Jensen. Please, over to you.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Søreide, dear colleagues, and dear representative of indigenous peoples of the Barents region and youth representatives. First of all, I'd like to thank the Norwegian chair of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council and the Swedish chair of the Barents Regional Council for co-hosting this virtual meeting. We appreciate your efforts to give further impetus to our cooperation in these rather challenging times. The priorities of the Norwegian chairmanship are health, people-to-people contacts, and knowledge. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, these priorities have become even more pertinent, I believe. The study by the Working Group on Health and Related Issues on COVID-19 in the Barents region and the expert meeting on e-health planned for November 2020 are excellent examples of exchange of knowledge serving a concrete purpose. People-to-people contacts have taken on a new character as virtual meeting rooms have become the new normal for all of us. We are all upgrading our IT skills and discovering new digital platforms. The Barents International Secretariat is working hard to assist the working groups adopt new work methods and to continue their cooperation, and we appreciate that. It's reassuring to see that the Barents Regional Council has demonstrated its resilience by continuing its work online and has taken the opportunity to exchange information about local measures to stimulate economic activity during the pandemic. Tourism is an important economic activity in many parts of the Barents region, and tourism operators have been severely impacted by the pandemic. In some regions, measures have been taken to promote domestic tourism as an alternative to foreign visitors. In Denmark, we made an effort to ensure that children and young people benefited from virtual teaching during lockdown in the spring. Homeschooling was a challenge to children and their parents, but also a joint learning experience. Our schools are open at present, but at our institutes of higher education, many courses are still taught online to reduce physical interaction. Hopefully, our enhanced digital know-how in this field of education can be put to use in areas like the Barents region, where distances are vast and some areas very sparsely populated. I hope that this will be of benefit to us in the future. And I look forward to the comments from the Barents Regional Youth Council on the situation for young people during the pandemic. The pandemic has not diminished the need for us to focus on other important issues. Climate change is still a massive challenge that we need to tackle together within the framework of the Paris Climate Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. So we welcome the decision to update the Barents Euro-Arctic Council Action Plan on climate change. And we hope that the action plan can provide inspiration for new green recovery measures and help speed the transition to a low emissions economy. In conclusion, I would like to commend the efforts of the Norwegian chairmanship to sustain dialogue in the Barents region and wish you the best of luck for the last year of your chairmanship. We look forward to continue working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, State Secretary Grønbech-Jensen, and thank you for mentioning the International Barents Secretariat in Kirkenes. Of course, they are very important for our work. Our next stop is Reykjavik. It is a pleasure for me to introduce Permanent Secretary of State, Martin Eyjólfsson. Please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, dear colleagues and friends. Let me at the outset thank the Norwegian chair in the Barents Euro-Arctic Council for your comprehensive and professional work in operating and strengthening the Council cooperation in any possible way. I would also like to thank Västerbotten as the chair of the Regional Council and as Minister Søreide said, it's add value to the cooperation. Iceland highly values the Council as a platform for democratic dialogue, practical cooperation, and people-to-people contacts. The diversity of tasks and projects inside the Council family is a strong indication of our common beliefs. The achievement made in areas such as economic cooperation, connectivity, health, youth, and the work on gender equality, to name a few, should be recognized. In many ways, the Council is uniquely suited to add value to the development of the Barents region by fostering mutual understanding, building trust, people-to-people contacts in which indigenous people play an important part. We warmly welcome the strong focus on children, youth, and health in all areas of our cooperation during the Norwegian chairmanship. We strongly support the outcome declaration from our last ministerial session. As reflected in the declaration, global warming is affecting the Barents region at more than twice the rate of the global average. I would like to highlight the reaffirmation of the commitments of the Council member states to the implementation of the UN 2030 agenda, as well as the Paris Climate Accord. We welcome the increased focus on synergies between multilateral cooperation formats in the region. We need to strengthen the overall regional cooperation by working more closely together. Here I want to mention the Council of the Baltic Sea States, the Nordic Council of Ministers, the Northern Dimension, and the Arctic Council. Closer cooperation and contacts between these regional actors will benefit us all. For the past year and a half, Iceland has chaired the Arctic Council, where we emphasize sustainable development in the region, with the chairmanship slogan being "Together towards a sustainable Arctic." In our chairmanship, we emphasize favorable development and growth in the Arctic with a clear focus on balancing the three pillars of sustainable development: economic, environmental and societal pillars, with our main priorities being the Arctic marine environment climate, the green energy solution, people and communities, and a stronger Arctic Council. Inevitably, the chairmanship has been affected by the pandemic, like most of our work, and we've been mentioning here today. But the chairmanship projects and the work of the Arctic Council advances regardless. In November, the senior Arctic official meeting will be held online for the first time. Ms. Chair, actually, we have been talking here today that COVID-19 has changed our working methods, and to some extent, these are challenges, but these are also opportunities. And for us as a small foreign service, we are also able to attend more meetings than we don't attend. We don't have endless experts like our bigger family members, and so it has also strengthened our attendance to some extent, and I think it's also valid for our audience, the youth and the indigenous. You know, I think we can, and the value in our cooperation is exactly the network that we have been building up. So I must commend the Kirkenes Secretariat for keeping this going and finding new inventive ways to keep us all together. But I would like to emphasize these are also opportunities. I mentioned our Arctic chairmanship. We will hand over to our Russian counterparts, hopefully in Reykjavik in May. And Stefano Sannino, since I saw you here on the screen a couple of minutes ago, that would be an ample opportunity for you to visit Iceland and renew your relations to the Westman Islands, where we met 10 years ago last time. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much, Iceland and State Secretary Eyjólfsson. You're absolutely right that the digital meetings give more opportunities, and we were very happy to have such a high level at this meeting. Our next speaker is representing the Barents Program for New Health Technology and Methods. Welcome, Zaza Tsereteli, who is the coordinator of the program. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable Minister Søreide, Governor Knutsson, colleagues, I am very pleased to present the work of the new Barents Program, New Technologies and Methods for Healthcare in Sparsely Populated Areas, which was launched in 2019 and will last till the end of 2023. The aim of the program is collecting and exchanging information and knowledge on the best practices of cost-effective solutions to meet unmet healthcare needs in sparsely populated areas. It's also a sharing of models for introduction of health information technologies in different fields of the health and care systems, including exchanging of personnel, training, and education. Let me give you an overview of the preliminary findings of our assessment on digital solutions. This assessment is based on the questionnaire developed by the steering committee for the program and aims to assess the trends and challenges our regions are facing in the field of digital health. The data collection took around 2 months and finished just last week. Data will be now analyzed and some recommendations will be developed and presented at the eHealth conference we are planning to hold on December 8th. Plus, the decision about the possible future projects will be discussed and decided. The idea to have this assessment was born in November last year, and first we were planning to assess the situation on our sparsely populated regions, as it was the period before the COVID-19. However, when the pandemic started, we have added some questions and tried to see how the pandemic has affected the usage of digital solutions. The definition we have used for the study is as following, you see on the slide, and what is most important is that we included here both the clinical and non-clinical applications at the end. We got responses from all the regions which are within our Barents cooperation, and that is very, very good. Now let us look on some preliminary results. First of all, we have asked what type of digital solutions you are providing and planning to provide. Mobile health is top, followed by administrative meetings and trainings of non-clinical applications. Video consultations have not been used frequently before the COVID-19. There was a capability, but there was not too much of use, and now it is changing dramatically. What lessons learned? The assessments show that technical foundation for e-health solutions were widely available before the COVID-19. This helped the medical staff to leverage and extend the e-health capabilities during the COVID-19 response. What we see now is the significant shift in types and services and solutions provided, especially video consultations, remote working, and remote monitoring. What type of conditions are the health professionals are targeting with digital solutions? Not surprisingly, it was chronic diseases that was the key, and the medical therapy and preventive measures. Mental health services were not used much before the COVID-19. However, now we can see, and that you can see from the slide of North Korea, it has changed, and more the digital solutions are used for the physical, mental solutions. Critical challenges before the COVID-19 pandemic. It is no surprise to see the funding and regulations at the top of the list. We know that the before reimbursement for e-health services was much lower, and when the service delivery. This was a problem to increase the share e-health, and regulations were not pushing the usage of the services. The chronic diseases was the main area, but now it is shifted to the clinical usage of applications towards more regular and first touchpoint use of cases. Digital solutions were more used for the older people that might be linked to the chronic diseases. Now we see it can be used for almost all age groups. With COVID-19, the need for care and care to be offered remotely has become obvious. Never before has there been such a great need to be able to stand close to one another, stay fully informed, receive adequate care and care, but still keep the physical distance. One thing is certain, the use of digital tools to support an effective public health response is relevant during the current COVID-19 outbreak, and in the future will become even more so. Digital health is emerging as priority for many public health and private healthcare systems as a way forward to drive value for every global citizen to ensure healthcare is accessible and equitable and high-performing. If we want to an open world, we must build robust local communities. We do this by opening our minds and seeking cross-border collaboration. I thank you very much for your support to our program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsereteli, and thank you to you and your colleagues for your good work. We look forward to hearing more at the expert meeting the 8th of December, and we think the experts on e-health will be better equipped than most of us to have a digital meeting. Our journey now goes to Tromsø, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce County Governor Bjørn Inge Mo. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear ministers, dear colleagues, dear friends. I cannot agree with you more on the importance that we continue to work together to strengthen the Barents cooperation, particularly in these trying times that has put on hold on almost all physical contacts. I therefore champion all those out there finding alternative ways to move the cooperation forward. One of the important prerogatives is for the moving the cooperation forward is funding. The EU program Polar Arctic has been an important financial contributor to many working groups in the Barents cooperation. Discussions on the next EU programming period are ongoing. I would like to underline the importance of not alternating the Polar Arctic geographic area, as this might have a negative effect on the working groups. Even though Polar Arctic is an important tool for many, it regretfully does not cover all aspects of the Barents cooperation. Allow me therefore to convey my deep appreciation to both the Norwegian chairmanship and Västerbotten Regional Chairmanship for taking over the relay in seeking out our own financial mechanism. This will undoubtedly benefit the Barents working groups, who after all are the nuts and bolts in our cooperation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Governor Mo. From Tromsø, we will travel on to Murmansk. It's a pleasure to introduce Governor of the Murmansk region, Andrey Chibis. Добро пожаловать. Please, over to you.
Good morning, dear friends. Let's assess this not only as a hampering, but as a possibility for new cooperation. And we see that it has increased significantly. And I would like to say to all my colleagues that have responded to the initiative to exchange practices on combating pandemics and new economic problems in supporting economic businesses in this difficult situation. And we have already elaborated a range of decisions, and it has not only been a dedicated pandemic, but for example, we have introduced an electric shuttle bus between Zapolyarny and Murmansk, and in the north of Norway. So these are the new possibilities that we have in the northern Russia. And of course, it is fantastic that we have agreed to form a special format to exchange our telecommunication. And in spite of the pandemic, the exchange with my colleagues from Barents region, we have adopted already a range of decisions that has something to do with the technological solutions, and those investments that have already been introduced into Arctic, they have been very significant, and due to our collaboration, we have a special regime. We have identified a territory for the advanced economic development that has given us the opportunity to increase investments even in this complicated period. And of course, we try to support people who have lost their jobs and who have introduced this system of dispersing jobs in all different structures to support the unemployed people, and so that they maintain their living conditions, and to facilitate employment in scarce populated areas. The pandemic has not stopped economic problems. It is very important, and I would like to emphasize that in spite of the pandemic, all the agreements with the major industrial companies have stayed, and major economic projects are being carried out. For example, by Christmas, we are planning to introduce some projects in Pechenga and in Nikel. These are bordering regions to Norway and our Norwegian partners. And due to these projects, we would be able to increase by 34% the emissions into the atmospheric air, also maintaining the number of employment places, and also decreasing the burden of this pandemic. And so I wish you all good health, and let us unite our efforts so that we can introduce the existing services and as it is going on in Murmansk region and in the whole Russia. And thanks to all my colleagues again. I will express my gratitude for the cooperation and for the support of this joint work on collaborating and combating this difficult epidemiological situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor Chibis. Спасибо вам большое. Our journey now continues to North Finland and Joensuu. I'm happy to welcome our next speaker, Region Mayor of North Karelia, Risto Poutiainen. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear ministers, dear colleagues and friends, I would like to also use the opportunity to thank the national Norwegian chairmanship and Västerbotten, the regional leadership, and the International Barents Secretariat for organizing this high-level Barents meeting. It is important that despite of the corona pandemic, we continue and even strengthen Barents cooperation via remote connections, as we have already done. The new forms of cooperation enables that. It is also vital to promote contacts and the exchange of information and the best practices between the Barents regions. The international online sessions Barents Euro-Arctic region versus coronavirus held in June 10th and October 14th are excellent examples of this kind of cooperation. I would like to thank once again Governor Andrey Chibis for the initiative for these important online sessions. We here in the Barents region should work or even fight together on saving air connections in all Barents regions, both within each country and interregional air connections. In the wake of the corona pandemic, airlines have either reduced flights to various parts of the Barents region or even stopped flights and partly opened again, as it has occurred for flights between Helsinki and Joensuu, Helsinki-Kajaani, and Helsinki-Kemi in Finland. Due to long distances, air connections up to the main market and cooperation areas are extremely vital for businesses, the public sector, education and research and tourism. I would like to propose that the Barents Regional Council will evaluate the Barents Program 2019 to 2023 not later than in the end of Västerbotten's chairmanship, and make necessary changes considering the obvious influence of corona pandemic to the implementation of the program. And finally, the creation of a regional development fund paves the way for deepening the cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Region Mayor Poutiainen. Foreign Minister Eriksen Søreide described the indigenous peoples at the heart of our cooperation. The working group of indigenous peoples participate in all Barents meetings. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Chair of the Working Group for Indigenous Peoples, Piera Heaika Muotka. Over to you.
Bore Ivit and good morning, dear Barents friends. The ongoing pandemic has forced us all to think digitally instead of physically, and this also applies to the indigenous communities. Fortunately, this is something we, the Sami, Veps and the Nenets have been doing for quite a while already. And today you can find online language tools in all the indigenous languages of the Barents region, provided by UIT, the Arctic University of Norway. Last week, during the Sami Language Week, the Sami Parliament hosted a gaming stream where Sami children and youth could come together and play Minecraft, and which has recently been translated into Sami language by a young enthusiast. I'm also pleased to report that during this pandemic, we're seeing successful online language revitalization courses in critically endangered languages such as Killian Sami language and the Vepsian language. Digital platforms and tools are key for indigenous language revitalization. Indigenous languages have been a particular point of priority for the Working Group for Indigenous Peoples. I remind you that all the indigenous languages in the Barents area are considered endangered. Last year, we just concluded the very successful International Year for Indigenous Languages, and we were very pleased to see that a number of the countries party to the Barents Cooperation also participated as governmental partners. We are hoping all of the countries and regions of the Barents family participate as governmental partners for the International Decade of Indigenous Languages 2022 to 2032. Because in spite of successful local-driven language projects, we need the bigger players to pull in the same directions. We need the states and we need the big international tech businesses whose products we all use and rely on a daily basis. Microsoft, Google, Apple, Samsung, Facebook, VKontakte. If only one of these giants would reach out and offer their services in our languages, that single message would have the same impact as when our languages were standardized and our written languages were created. Chair, one of the downside of only meeting digitally is not being able to build networks and relations between indigenous peoples' leaders and governmental officials. And next year, the Working Group for Indigenous Peoples, together with the Norwegian chairmanship, is hosting the Barents Indigenous Peoples Summit in Bodø, where the main purpose is to promote closer dialogue between the indigenous peoples, the regional governments, and the federal governments. In the meantime, I would recommend the parties to the cooperation to include indigenous peoples in decision-making processes. We hope to see many of you at the summit, whether it be digital or physical, and we are happy to announce that indigenous languages will be one of the issues discussed at the summit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Working Group Chair Muotka. Kiitos. We will now address another topic that is very important to our cooperation, and this is youth. We all agree that it's important to speak with the youth and not only about them or to them. That is why the Norwegian chairmanship is eager to cooperate closely with the Barents Regional Youth Council. In January, at our extended CSO meeting, we had the pleasure of having a lot of BRIC members. I'm now very pleased to introduce member of the Barents Regional Youth Council Board from Murmansk, Daria Makhotina. Please, Daria.
Dear Chair, colleagues and friends of the Barents, on behalf of BRIC, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for the invitation to the Barents High-Level Meeting. We are very happy to hear that cooperation is up and running during these challenging times for all of us. Young people are expected to officially adjust to the new realm, and we do, because we have learned how to stay connected. With a number of digital tools and extensive social media promotion, we will keep building bridges and raise awareness about the current situation in the region among young Barents citizens. Life in harsh conditions and self-isolation during unstable seasons have always impacted our health. We want to talk more about the new initiatives in the remote areas concerning mental and physical health and call upon all neighboring countries to create the safe environment for young generation. COVID-19 has changed our perception of traditional academia and career. Through seminars that BRIC is planning to run in the next year, together with the Nordic cooperation, youth are going to be acquainted with the new ways of self-development and skill training. Moreover, we should not forget about the idea of the Barents University, which was announced at the Barents Youth Seminar in Luleå by the Swedish chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council. Digital organization of cross-border studies opens a great opportunity and access to unique Barents knowledge, which will change the resource-driven perception to innovative thinking. To conclude, I would like to say that we are not able to draw the line between new and old times anymore, and our contemporary reality demands new action, and young people are ready to take that action. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daria. Thank you for your clear message. I'm sure all the politicians have taken notes. Now we will move on to the discussion part of the meeting, and we will continue to talk a little bit more about youth. And I have the pleasure to introduce Deputy Foreign Minister of Sweden, Robert Rydberg. Please.
Thank you very much. Sweden very much look forward to the continued development and deepening of the fruitful Barents Youth Cooperation. Young people were a key priority during the Swedish chairmanship of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council 2018 to 2019. And we are very pleased that youth remains a priority issue during Norway's national and Västerbotten regional chairmanships. I also in this context very much welcome the Russian offer to host the upcoming meeting of the Barents Youth Council in Russia. The youth recommendations welcomed at the ministerial meeting in Umeå 2019 form a solid basis for further engagement in this area. The well-received Swedish indigenous youth educational project conducted during our chairmanship can act as a source of inspiration. Collaboration could also be improved between high schools in the region, for example, addressing regional environmental and climate-related issues. Lessons could be learned from the fruitful cooperation between Swedish and Russian high schools during the Swedish chairmanship of the Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Foreign Minister Rydberg. Sweden did a very good job on youth and the Norwegian chairmanship. We have really enjoyed working with you on this. I would now like to give the floor to Governor Helene Hellmark Knutsson for some additional comments on youth. Please, Governor.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Daria Makhotina, for your very interesting comments and your work within the Regional Youth Council. As we all know, youth is one of the priorities for Västerbotten and a question that we consider crucial for a successful Barents cooperation. And when we are talking about youth, of course, we also include indigenous youth as well. Young people are the most valuable resource and have a beneficial interest in the future development of the Barents region. They are crucial for the cooperation, the development, and the sustainability of the region. An active youth policy in the Barents region is required in order to secure a sustainable population in the region. Västerbotten have now initiated the process to develop the new Barents Youth Program that defines young people's participation in the Barents cooperation. And this is done together with a wide range of stakeholders, including the youth themselves. And the Barents Regional Youth Council plays an important role in the Barents cooperation, gathering youth from all regions and the indigenous population. Youth have a special place in the Barents cooperation as youth representatives take part in all levels, and the cooperation are included in the discussions even at ministerial meetings. Meetings this way across regional and national border and representing a wider group ties the youth together, and the bond will stay with them for the rest of their lives. This is something quite unique in the international relations. The strength of Barents cooperation lies in the people of the region, and we have a goal to enable people, and especially young people, to meet. Västerbotten have long ties with the Republic of Karelia, and we support schools in Västerbotten and Karelia so that pupils can meet and learn from each other. Of course, the pandemic has made these exchanges digital, of course, but they are still very active. I think making ties like this from a young age from our national borders will help us to develop long-term relations, because it is always easier to talk to those neighbors that you have met before. Young people's health is also part of our priorities. There are many sports initiatives and exchange between our regions, and one such example is the Barents Games. It serves not only as motivation for physical activity, but also exemplifies the similarities in climate and culture. But as we heard from Daria, it's also very important that we include physical and mental health in this program as well. The Barents region faces a demographic challenge where the population is increasingly aging, and younger population, especially young women, are leaving the region to live and study and work in larger cities in the south. There is a need to create an attractive living environment in order to get people to move to, stay in, or return to the region. I believe that gender equality is a prerequisite for regional prosperity and development. Women are often the first to move away, and in order to make our region attractive, we must make it attractive for women to live and to work here. Then men will follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor, and thank you to Västerbotten for the great work that you are doing with the Barents Youth Program. Youth will definitely remain at the top of the Barents agenda in the time to come. Now we will continue to our next discussion topic, infrastructure and digital solutions. And first up is Foreign Minister Ine Eriksen Søreide. Please.
Thank you very much, Gøril. Right now, Oslo, Moscow, Brussels, Umeå, and a number of other locations are linked together online. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet again in person in not too long. But still, I am in no doubt that extensive use of digital platforms and solutions are here to stay. And it will enable people to connect easily across borders and to generate entirely new kinds of business opportunities. As chair of the BEAC working group on transport, Norway is focusing on digitalization in the road sector. This will be addressed in a webinar hosted by our Minister of Transport, Knut Arild Hareide, later this week. Let me also thank the working group on health and related social issues for its ongoing effort to address digital solutions that promote competence building and exchange of best practices across the Barents region. A valuable framework for this is provided under the Barents Program on New Technology and Methods in Healthcare in sparsely populated areas, which was approved by the Health Ministers' meeting in 2019. We need solutions that support cooperation and communication between and within municipalities and hospitals. Patients and healthcare personnel need digital systems that simplify their lives and improve treatment. Innovation and businesses also play a vital role here. Young entrepreneurs will therefore be invited to participate in our expert meeting on 8th of December.
Thank you very much, Foreign Minister. Next up for comments in this part of this discussion is County Governor of Troms and Finnmark, Bjørn Inge Mo. Over to you.
Thank you. Dear Minister, dear colleagues. In preparation for a new EU programming period, we are together with Nordland and the Sami Parliament developing an analysis concerning our counties. While the analysis is currently being drafted, I will nevertheless share preliminary findings when it comes to transport and health. Due to the large geographic distances, some communities have more than 4 hours travel time by road to the nearest hospital. There is a network of medical helicopters and small planes for emergency situations, but the climate and not the least the organization of this network strongly influence the regularity of the flights. Cooperation with the transport sector is crucial. I would like to thank the national leaderships who have had the courage to see the Barents region as a whole when developing the joint Barents transport plan. It highlights that unique challenges that are best meet together. One should also bear in mind that we are very dependent on our neighbors when they're transporting goods to the markets. Based on input from the Barents Transport Cooperation under the Norwegian leadership, we will develop systems that not only communicate with each other across the border, but we will provide real-time information, allowing for more effective transportation of goods in our region. This again will significantly reduce emissions. It is therefore my hope that we in the future will see even more projects so that we can create an integrated transport system in the Barents region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Governor Mo. Now I would like to bring into this discussion Region Mayor of North Karelia, Risto Poutiainen, please.
Yes, thank you, dear ministers, dear colleagues and friends. I would like to highlight, in addition to importance of air connections, also the importance of both traditional road and railroad infrastructure and digital infrastructure. In our remote northern areas, it is vital to maintain and repair roads, including lower road network. Industries locating and operating in our area are dependent on how the transport and logistics systems are developed. Moreover, developed road infrastructure is vital for development of sustainable tourism and most of all for local people to their everyday life. Moreover, it is important to develop quicker railway connections and cargo transportation as they are a vital part of region's economic activities and future growth and are also environmentally friendly mode of transport. So I underline the importance of the joint Barents transport plan. Next, I would like to draw attention to the importance of digitalization for young people in the Barents region and at the same time for the future of the whole Barents region. Barents Regional Culture and Youth Cooperation is important because the culture of the region is the roots and the young people are the future of the region. Improving data-rich connections inside our countries, but also in the east-west direction is important. Data connections are also important for promoting young people's welfare and entrepreneurship, as many young people and especially young men in the regions are not well. Youth well-being and activity are facilitated when connections with the rest of the world are in order. It allows networking and peer support, perhaps also education in your home environment without having to leave home far. That is why it is important to have youth and education expert in the Barents Euro-Arctic Council Secretariat. In addition, the construction of the Northeast Passage underwater fiber cable connection would increase the accessibility of the region globally and is also a key issue for business development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Region Mayor. Infrastructure and digital solutions is for sure an important Barents topic. We will now move on in our discussion to climate change and responsible business solutions. And I would like to go back to Helsinki to State Secretary Anttonen. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear Minister, colleagues, friends of the Barents region. The Barents region has much at stake in climate change. Already winter temperatures are 2.5 degrees Celsius higher than pre-industrial temperatures, and sea ice and snow are melting at the unprecedented rates, as proven by the latest by the just finished Mosaic expedition. Climate change means new vulnerabilities for the communities in the north. These are vulnerabilities related to food security, infrastructure durability, health impacts for humans and ecosystems, and risks linked to extreme weather conditions. The indigenous livelihoods are most at risk. Traditional livelihoods dependent on the functioning ecosystems are extremely vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Responsible business development in the north finds ways to support the transition to a sustainable low-carbon society and thus contributes to alternative job opportunities and resilience. In the Barents region, we are able to develop solutions needed by the rest of the world now and in the future. One example of such a solution is the reduction of black carbon emissions. Black carbon is a component of particulate matter released into the air from incomplete burning processes. It is an air pollutant associated with serious health effects. It is estimated that black carbon is the second largest contributor to Arctic warming after carbon dioxide. Major environmental and health benefits can be achieved worldwide by curbing black carbon emissions. This also helps in reaching the Paris Climate Agreement. Dear colleagues, we have an important work ahead to update the Barents Action Plan on climate change by the next Barents Euro-Arctic Council ministerial meeting. Finland is committed to this work. We hope to get an outcome with ambitious actions, which we, as the next chair, support to be implementing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, State Secretary Anttonen. We very much appreciate the close cooperation that we have with the Finnish chairmanship of the Working Group for Environment when it comes to the work on the update of the action plan. Indigenous peoples are also highly affected by climate change, and I would now like to bring into the discussion Piera, Heaika, Muotka from the Working Group, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. From an indigenous point of view, when you talk about sustainability, you're talking about a many-faceted issue. You can't really only focus on climate change and exclude other aspects, such as the human dimension or ecosystem vulnerability when looking for climate solutions and mitigation measures. Climate change does indeed affect indigenous communities on a large scale, and especially reindeer herding among Sami and its people. The reindeer herds are affected by climatic swings, particularly when hard icy layers are formed on snow, making the food underneath unreachable. Warm summer may also cause problems, and pests, forest fires, and the melting of permafrost forms an issue. It's important that when we look at solutions for climate change, that we don't cause new problems on our other vulnerable areas. Land-based wind energy facilities might seem like a good solution on the global stage, but if a wind energy project on land includes vast encroachments in nature and vulnerable ecosystems and damaging indigenous livelihoods, it can hardly be seen as sustainable anymore. When it comes to sustainable businesses, it's important to provide resources for capacity building within indigenous communities so that indigenous peoples themselves can own and do businesses in our territories. It's important that business solutions are sustainable and long-term, not only boost and boom. A few years ago, the working group partnered up with indigenous organizations in the Barents regions and created the project INDIG. The project provided opportunities for indigenous peoples to achieve financial independence through entrepreneurship, and is such an example of good practice on capacity building. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insights, Chair of the Working Group, Muotka. We very much appreciate the cooperation that we have with you and your colleagues, and we look forward to discussing also the work on the update of the Climate Action Plan with you. We will now move forward with today's last topic for discussion, financing and coordination between regional structures of cooperation. And let me go back to Brussels and give the floor to Deputy Secretary General Sannino, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. International cooperation requires constant upkeep and renewal. The post-COVID economic recovery and the translation to a sustainable, socially just, resilient and climate-neutral economy should go hand in hand. This is once-in-a-generation opportunity to build back better and greener. The EU's Green Deal is driven by scientific evidence and economic logic. It is a growth model for a sustainable, more resilient and future-proof economy, and it will be the red thread running through our recovery strategy. Through the constructive cooperation between all partners and structures in the region, we can make an important contribution to leading the way on accelerated climate action on all fronts, including on the regional level, and fulfill the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We already have an excellent track record of using regional cooperation structures in a complementary fashion. The Helsinki Commission for the Baltic Sea and the Barents Cooperation have identified environmental hotspots, and the Northern Dimension Environmental Partnership Fund is being used to address them. Can we expand and continue this work of addressing environmental challenges? And can the Barents Euro-Arctic Council working parties and other partners find similar synergies in other fields as well? Northern Dimension Partnership for Health and Social Well-being is potentially one such structure. It could be a relevant forum to discuss lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic across the region, and there are already many existing links with the Barents cooperation. The EU has already last year decided to increase our funding for it, and we hope that other partners will also contribute. Similar opportunities exist in culture and transport, and potentially in other fields. Colleagues, over the years we have built an impressive network of international cooperation in the North. We should focus on identifying our needs and then use the most appropriate instruments in our regional toolkit to address them. We should listen to our citizens, to our indigenous communities, to our youth, to the business, to the regions, to identify what needs to be done through regional cooperation. And we, as partners, should take responsibility for supporting this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General Sannino. It's definitely important to coordinate between the different regional structures of cooperation, and we very much appreciate the active engagement of the EEAS in our work in the Committee of Senior Officials. We will now go to our next speaker in this part of the discussion, State Secretary Grønbech-Jensen of Denmark. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I would like to add what the Secretary General Sannino just said about coordination between regional fora. In our view, it's of utmost importance that we coordinate as good as possible between the Barents Euro-Arctic Council, the Arctic Council, the Nordic Council, and the Council of the Baltic Sea States. It's been a difficult time, as several of you have mentioned, over the last year. Many of the meetings that we would have liked to have not taken place, or at least have only taken place virtually. But in the regional organizations which Denmark has had the honor to preside over the last year, the Nordic Council of Ministers, the N5 Nordic Cooperation on Foreign Policy, and the Council of the Baltic Sea States. The cooperation has, in some respects, been more operative and more frequent than what we normally see. So despite the challenges of COVID-19, cooperation in these regional fora has been extremely useful to us. Let me give you a few examples. The Nordic Council of Ministers worked very closely during the COVID-19 crisis, in particular on how to limit the consequences of travel restrictions between us as much as possible. And we have initiated a process where we look at how to learn from our experiences within Nordic cooperation. In the N5 cooperation, we have worked very, very closely on consular cooperation, especially when it came to filling up planes around the world and bring Nordic citizens back. The ministers met much more frequently than they normally do, and the character of the work they did was a lot more operational, I think, than usual. So in many respects, this was also a period where we developed or learned about new sides of our regional cooperation. The Council of the Baltic Sea States, unfortunately, was also hit by COVID-19, but we managed to have in our view, very useful ministerial summit among foreign ministers virtually, and even if it was virtual, we believe that we had important talks about the region and the people living here, especially on issues of climate and environment, youth engagement, and cross-border organized crime. So this was, in many ways, very useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, State Secretary Grønbech-Jensen. On the working level, we do our very best to coordinate between the councils, and we will have a sister council meeting in Stockholm, where we hopefully will meet in person in December, but maybe it will be digital. The final comments in this discussions will be from Director Belyaev from the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please, over to you.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, the theme of coordination of multilateral cooperation formats in the North has been in the regional agenda for a long time. This has been really a tradition that every year one of the secretariats of the four sister councils of Arctic Council, Barents Council, CBSS, Nordic Council of Ministers, arranges a meeting of councils on the working level. It was mentioned. Now it is turn of CBSS International Secretariat to host the next event, and such meetings are indeed helpful as they serve as a very useful platform to exchange information. A project in DG was also already mentioned at our meeting, and we do believe that it is a very good example of synergy of our work in the North. Environmentally and culturally sustainable tourism in the Arctic, for example, could become a promising focus area for enhancing coordination. In this case, a two-way course of actions seems logical. Outward coordination between the councils, as well as inward within each council. As regards to the Barents Council, it would mean synergy among the relevant structures: steering committee for the Barents Euro-Arctic transport area, joint working group on culture, joint working group on tourism, as well as a regional working group on transport and logistics. Our potential spheres for joint affairs are also environmental protection, climate change, transport, healthcare, youth cooperation. It is clear that this work requires systematic approach and due consideration on a high political level. That is why I would like to reiterate the Russian initiative to resume the coordination meetings of the sister councils of the North and the Northern Dimension partnerships on political level, Deputy Minister, State Secretary. Russia was at the origins of the idea to enhance coordination between multilateral formats, and the first meeting of this kind was held in St. Petersburg in 2009, the second one in Oslo at 2012. Russian proposal is still on the table, and we believe it would benefit all stakeholders in the north of Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. Our meeting is now coming to an end, and we would like to give the floor to the chairs for concluding remarks. Please, Governor Hellmark Knutsson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your good work as a chair for this meeting, and thank you all speakers for your interesting interventions. A conclusion to be drawn today is that Barents cooperation has the potential to act as an example for a successful practical regional cooperation in this rapidly changing world. And as the chair of the Regional Council, I will continue to strengthen the close interaction between national, regional and local levels together with people-to-people contacts in which indigenous people and youth play a very significant role. And once again, thank you very much for this morning, and I hope you all will have a good week and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor, and I would like to thank all speakers. Before I give the floor to Foreign Minister Eriksen Søreide, I would like to thank you all. I will do my very best to bring the energy from this meeting into the work of the Barents Committee of Senior Officials. And thank you so much for all your interesting interventions. I will now give the floor to Foreign Minister Eriksen Søreide for concluding remarks. Please.
Well, thank you very much, Gøril. And first of all, I would like to thank everyone for making this meeting possible, but also for giving such good and valuable contributions. These are, of course, also extremely valuable inputs, not only to our chairmanship, but also to our continued Barents work and cooperation. I would also like to extend a warm thank you to my co-host, Governor Hellmark Knutsson, and not least to Gøril, who guided us safely through this meeting. Usually, now at the end of the meeting, I would say safe travels. I will not say that now. I would like to say safe log off. Take care and stay healthy.